Hey guys, it's Rush. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. This video today, we are looking at a new controller. So you may remember the FightWedge V2, which I reviewed on the channel. What if I told you there's a FightWedge V3? And what if I told you that the FightWedge V3 offers a lot of the functionality I would like to see in the perfect 6-button fight pad? Well, feast your eyes on this. This is the FightWedge V3 from Banana Faction. This controller is a massive step up from the previous one, and we'll talk about why in this video. So before we talk about the improvements, let's just talk about the controller. It is built in the exact same way, so it's 3D printed. It uses keyboard switches for its buttons. It has 6-button layout, and you do get 2 different faceplates. You get the arcade stick style, the slider D-pad, which you saw on the V2, and you also have the more traditional style D-pad where you press down for your directions. So what are the improvements of the V3 over the V2? So the obvious one is the shape and design. So this controller has handles. You get a more secure grip of the control pad. If I turn it to the side as well, you can see the thickness and shape of the controller. It's much more thick. So it is, again, much easier to hold. It's much more secure in the hands. The handle design was actually taken from the DualShock 4 controller for the PS4 pad. You can actually see the shape of them. They do mimic the shape of the PS4 pad. So if you've ever used a PS4 pad, this will feel right at home in your hands. The D-pad is the exact same as the V2, as are the buttons. Even the alignment's the same, but the face itself, it's a significant size, which I think is great. It's very similar in size to the V2, but with the added handles, it makes a massive difference with the way it sits in your hands. You have 4 shoulder buttons, which sit much closer to the edge of the pad. So I think they sit in a really good place. They are flat, they don't protrude upwards too much, but they work really well. Much better than the position of them on the V2. With the shoulder buttons as well, you can actually remove the shoulder buttons and you can reverse them. So this is actually the correct way they should sit. So they sit closer to the inside now, but I've taken them out and flipped them around to make them sit closer to the edge. So you have that ability to customize them if you want to. You can take them out, flip them around. I do prefer them to sit closer to the edge. You can do that with this pad. So these function buttons that sit on the front of the pad, they are much bigger, much easier to press. On the V2, if I go back to the V2, you can see they were quite small. They weren't difficult to press, but they were a little bit awkward. They're much better to press now. And the final improvement, and this is a big one, on the back, you have buttons on the back as well. That's really, really cool. So you can map those buttons. They're basically the paddles you'd see on most modern controllers. So you have 2 paddles on the back as well. The addition of this engraving on the back is very cool as well. It's made in Canada. So yeah, nice little touches. So with 3D printing, if you don't know, it uses layers to build the shapes, and Banana Faction spends time to actually sand down, smoothen out some of the areas that touch. So for example, where I'm using this D-pad, where it leans, it actually presses on the gate. So the gate is a circular hole in this faceplate. And then this itself, the D-pad, it has an arm on the back. So if I get the other one, you'll see the arm. See that? So Banana Faction actually spends time to sand down the gate and the arm so that when they touch, there isn't a rough interaction between the two. It's quite a smooth interaction. And for me personally, I can't even tell. There's no crunch. There's no friction. It feels very smooth when I am leaning in the directions and rotating with the D-pad. So the connection between the D-pad and the gate of the faceplate, to me, feels great. So that is manual labor that Banana Faction puts in. But if you do experience any problems with the parts rubbing or any friction, then you can use lube oil or grease that's safe to use on plastic. As long as it doesn't damage the plastic, you're safe to use those, and it should improve any signs of friction. So these pictures are from Banana Faction, and they show some of the components. You can see the layers of the components. So this is what I am referring to when I talk about the lines, the layers, and how they have to be smoothed down manually. The V3 functions in the exact same way as the last one. So it uses the same software. It's connected to your PC using USB type C. So it's connected up now. And Banana Faction was kind enough to add the Rush G logo to the pad, which is very, very cool. I love that touch. So you get the display, and you can see again, it highlights your inputs as you press them, which is very nice. To get to the configuration mode again, it's the exact same. You hold this button here, plug it in, and that'll take you to the config mode. And I won't go into detail here, but as mentioned in the previous video, if you go to the configuration website, you can do the button mapping for the pad here. So the way I've got this pad configured for Street Fighter 6, I have my light punch, medium punch, heavy punch set for these buttons here, and my light kick, medium kick, heavy kick, those ones there. I have R1 set to 3 punches and RT set to 3 kicks. So the actual button you see in Street Fighter 6 may be different, but that's what I'm using for those mappings there. And I believe I have parry set to, yeah, so it's L2. And my drive impact button, heavy punch and heavy kick, if I turn the pad over, it's set to this paddle, so it's the right paddle. So I've had to use the mappings in the website to set it up that way, but that's how I've got the game set after configuring my buttons through the software. So similar to the FightWedge V2 video, I'm going to do some Street Fighter 6 gameplay, but ranked gameplay. So this is me going into ranked raw with the controller, the V3. The reason I'm doing this is because it shows my execution in real matches. I don't feel training mode is a good way to really demonstrate the execution because there's no pressure of me doing these combos in training mode. So I'm showing you snippets of my execution in the ranked games to explain my feelings on how the pad feels. So the way the pad sits in my hands is perfect. It is 10 out of 10. The design of the pad is amazing. The button layout and positioning, the shoulder buttons, the face buttons are very, very good. So execution of moves is very good as well. So if I'm on the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the screen, I don't have any execution problems. And there's no particular inputs that I notice where it's like, oh, that input's hard to do. I can do my motion inputs. I can cancel DP into super. I can do the more complicated combos with ease. But the things I do notice on this pad, if I'm being very critical, is the D-pad. The fact that the D-pad spins. If I'm a little bit sloppy on the way I'm holding the D-pad, I can accidentally slip because the D-pad spins. So that is something I personally have ran into a couple of times. So that is a me issue, that's not a pad issue. But I do think if the D-pad itself didn't spin, then that would improve that issue that I ran into. The shoulder buttons themselves as well, again, if I'm being hypercritical, I do feel like they're a little too close. So I feel if they were spaced out a little bit more, then that would be better. Because there were some occasions where I'd press my R1 and R2 button at the same time, and that would give you a taunt because you're pressing all 6 of the attack buttons. So that's something I've seen on other pads. The B-Top did that quite a lot, but execution was really good. The main thing I noticed when I was playing in ranked was that sometimes I was down backing. And I think because of the way the D-pad again spins, I would sometimes feel like I wasn't down backing. I'd get hit in a few occasions, but it's the design of the controller and it's the way I was using it. So other people may not have that problem. So I also tried the controller on Tekken 8 and it felt really good. It felt very comfortable in the hands. On Tekken 8 particularly, I used claw grip. So the face buttons for Tekken felt amazing. Shoulder buttons as well. It gave you those extra buttons to map for Tekken 8. The D-pad directional inputs were clean, so up, down, left, right inputs were perfect, but I did struggle with doing diagonal inputs with a lot of the moves. So I found that I had to really press into the corners to get those inputs. That was a bit of a struggle for me. It could just be a me thing, but I definitely found it hard to do the diagonal inputs or things like law slide consistently. So just to show you what that looks like with the D-pad, you know, it rotates, it spins. So if you're holding down back, and if you're not holding down back properly, you can see there's where it switches to like the left input. So I'm holding down back, but if I'm not accurately holding it or the D-pad slips a little bit, it will go to left. Same with down as well. If I'm holding down back and I accidentally slip a little bit, it will go to down. So that is an execution error of the individual, not the pad itself. But I think having it stationary, not rotating, would improve that feature. Looking at the shoulder buttons, you can see the gap is quite small. So it's very easy to accidentally press. You can see that Ken's taunting. If you do mispress, you can press them both, which will lead to a taunt. So I do feel a little bit more space between the two would be very good, this controller. So to summarize, I'm extremely impressed with this pad. Just the way it feels, the design, it has ticked all the boxes in regards to what I feel is the perfect 6-button fight pad. Again, being hypercritical, just those tweaks to the D-pad, having a big space on the shoulders, between the shoulder buttons, would make it perfect in my eyes. I highly recommend it. So for more information on the FightWedge V3 regarding when they're available and how to order them, I recommend following Banana Faction on Twitter/X. It's an amazing project. It's an amazing controller. I'm really happy to have been part of this process. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.